All right. Liberty Aid Academy live shows with Jack McKay, and this is our Christmas edition, huh?
Oh yeah, nice.
The Thursday before the big day. So, good stuff. I know there's all kinds of conspiracies about how that the actual birth was in the spring when the shepherds were around, all that kind of. We could start right off going into that kind of stuff because we. But
Oh no.
we'll leave that to somebody else's question. But yeah, people piling in the room, very good. So I will put a link up there if you want to join the show. Come on in, ask your question. I think I did name the show "Set Up a Trust as a Family Gift." My thought was that I was going to set my children. I have 5 kids, starting at 21 to 15, and then I should set up their own trust so that they can start when they come home with their Uber Eats delivery money, they can start donating it into their own trust. I think
Super
that'd be
smart, man.
interesting.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
So yeah, the best thing you can do to set people up, your family and everything up with that is to show them how it's done, and then maybe seed the trust a little bit for them, and then explain how it works. That's a fantastic gift for the holidays and for beyond. You know.
It is. It is a lot of not too many families do it. Usually it's one individual, but I do have some families that get into it, and I know once that happens, then the information, the truth, and everything that goes with it, it really takes hold at that moment when a family, does it more than one individual. It really
Right.
becomes so strong, man. So thanks for doing that. That's a great name for a show. Great topic.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. I mean, you have one person who's converted that the trusts work and they're a great source of protection and all that kind of stuff. It only takes one to set it up, and now mine has been in existence for over a year, and no one's hunting me down. The IRS isn't banging on my door. Everything else is still working. So once they see it works and sees that I have gotten donations from real estate deals and all this kind of stuff, it's a great uh, setup. And so when you can show them and explain it to them, uh, you can usually convert them over to start using that really well. Roxy says setting the trust up is the best thing I've ever done. Thank you, John, for what you do. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, her story is really amazing. I when I heard that, I was talk about a doing something for a family, her and her family, what went on with that. I mean, and that was a while ago when she told me everything what she done
Yeah,
with that. That was just amazing. What a story she has to tell.
yeah. I think I got this idea just to name the show this because we mentioned it last. I think in the last show I mentioned that my parents had a property in upstate New York, and after my dad passed a while back, after my mom passed, she just in her will she had a will and said the property is belongs to all 11. Then we had to go through all the steps and you know everything else it took to set up an LLC, and what we should have done it long before, had it in a trust, of course, but you don't know until you know. So
Yeah.
I wish
No,
I
it's,
had known, and then that would have set up, and nothing would have changed. We would have just been the beneficiaries and all had a piece of that trust and moved on.
yeah, even better. Even better than that. It can do even better than that, Tim, actually. Because what you want to do is, yeah, each individual should have their own trust and should, operate their own individual money that way and stuff. But there should be really, when you really get down to it, a family trust, for significant property that uh, you want to go down to the next generation and so on. Even better than being a beneficiary is when each person is a trustee. And
Right.
so that way, when, say the next generation up has, let's say, a home, in your case, someone like that, use that type of situation as an example. What happens is if other individuals or trustees, someone passes on, absolutely nothing happens. In other words, the trust still owns that property, and there's just not, that individual who's not with us, who dropped the body, is just no longer trustee. So the next trustees, the ones that are still there, that were there already, they continue to be trustees, and nothing happened. Ownership doesn't change, no taxes, no government, no nothing, nothing, no one steps in. And because the beneficiary role is really, you hear that a lot about regular trusts and stuff, but it's really something that hopefully never kicks in. And really, if you really study all my work, it actually will never step in. You'll have someone else's trustee, and then things just continue. And the government, we never talked to you, we never had to hear from you, didn't need any lawyers, didn't need anyone. Nothing happens at all. So
well, that I'll go a little deeper. That I was fighting for my house at the time, so I was in and out of bankruptcy and all this kind of stuff, and while that happened, my mom passed, and so I said, oh well, I don't know what's going to happen, but to my mom's estate, because this wasn't set up. And then there were issues about this property, in the estate, and they said, well, what's it worth? And I'm like, it was really not worth anything, because it's mostly land in upstate New York in the middle of nowhere, and so it's not worth much. And I have 7 brothers and 3 sisters, so I only own 1/11 of this piece of property. So I'm like, it's nothing, and you can't sell it because no one's allowed to sell their shares or piece of it. And also, so my brother, who was the executor, was like, it's not worth anything. Nobody pays anything to it, nobody gains anything, we don't rent it, it's just there, so it's not worth anything. So we had a long battle over its value, and of course, I had to give up a little piece of the rest of this estate to satisfy them, but just to stop them from coming after me. I'm like, it's never going to sell, it's never going to do anything, it's just a shack on a piece of land. It's better than a shack, but not worth crazy money. 1/11 of it anyway. But if it was in a trust, we would never have this conversation. And,
I understand. I had I've been doing this work a long time. And today I went for a walk on the beach, and I get to my car, I'm about to leave. Oh, here we go. Let's read Roxy's things.
I've put 10 properties in the trust, and each one has no property tax due. Ooh, that is amazing. Close to $16,890 per year. I also use this for my business with automobiles, 18-wheeler trucks, rock trailers, and no problem. Wow, that is a beautiful, beautiful story. I love that.
I'm telling you, and this is only part of her story. I'm telling you, this lady Roxy has really, she's like the matriarch of her family, and what she's done to set this all up has really done everything, because she had a health thing too happen where they wanted, her person got some health bills racked up so much, and she didn't have any assets. You follow me? So at times when a medical thing can be a huge thing, turned out to be nothing for her and her family. What she told me was it was over $1 million.
Yeah.
So think of how that would have significantly affected all those assets of the family business and all that stuff,
Yeah.
Like, it's really, for her to have done that, it really made everything just smooth, no problem. Family's okay, all their assets okay, their business okay, and all that.
Yeah. Is the family trust also a 508?
Absolutely. And that's a good question, L. McLean. But really, let me just put it right to words that really are the exact way to say it, and that is, the trust has 501c3 status. Okay, that's a proper way to say it, and it's a special type of 501c3 status. So it's a 508 is an exception, right? That in the IRS code, okay, is it a 508? It really allows for particular. Yeah, she is free. Sorry, but let me keep answering this because it the 508 is a section in the code that allows for 501c3 status, but it's a special type of 501c3 status, a nonprofit status. People call it this 501c3 status. In other words, you don't pay the IRS any money, and it has 6033 status, which is no reporting, no filling out paperwork ever for this trust. Nothing ever gets reported, not ever. So it's, you know, people call it 508, but what I recommend is people don't call it a 508 or anything like that, because that's like, wait, what is a 508? You know, you never have to want to explain yourself. You know, you just want to go smoothly under the radar at banks and everyone, you know. So, and it's just, it has 501c3 status. If anyone asks, that's it. And they're like, oh, 501c3, and they go,
they understand that part.
Yeah, they understand. And they go, oh, a nonprofit? You go, yes. And that's the end of the topic there. So just better to say, yeah, it has 501c3 status. Simple.
Yeah. But the 633, that's my favorite one.
Yeah, 6033. It is.
6033.
I mean, who wants to tell the government anything? And you know, you got to fill it out. And nothing. Because who can fill out any paperwork right anyway? Here's a you know, several million pages of IRS. Who's going to read millions of pages? And even if you read it, it's like, wait, what did I just read? You know, how that's impossible. You know, so better no reporting, nothing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, they're reading in the comments about Roxy's having the medical insurance and over $1 million in bills, all free. That's beautiful.
That's what I was first. I'm telling you, Roxy and her family. I mean, this trust came along and really kind of saved the day on that whole thing because, and hey, listen, Roxy or anyone could get in here, and like chat. You know, that's a link right there that Tim's putting up. If you want to tell your story, it's fine. If you want to type it, that's fine too. Either way. But and it's been a while since Roxy knew how to chat. But I mean, it's so memorable.
You can come on, just to mention that you can come on and not show your face. If you just want to, you know, leave up an avatar, just don't turn your camera on. I think if I do this, I can.
Now it's just me. I don't know. Tim's like, let me try this. Oh, goodbye. Anyway, I'm sure he'll be there. Oh, there he goes.
That's my avatar is a monster. But if you don't want to come on, it'll just have an avatar like this, and you can talk. But if you want to come on and show your face, you can. So either way, whatever you're comfortable with, join us. There's a link in the chat. That should be a hyperlink. You should be able to hit that, and then join us in the show. And
fantastic.
You know, feel free.
I mean,
or type your question in.
I think this happens to a lot of people because you know, I've heard about it a lot, and I think other people have heard about it a lot. But you have these huge medical bills, and basically you lose all your assets. This is a total solution to all that, and that's a giant family business she's running. You know that you know, lots of people are working at and stuff and doing government contracts, and they do some amazing work. Can you imagine having that all in jeopardy and, like, you know, one medical thing? I mean, talk about saving the day. It's great.
Well, my mom did not have a lot of medical bills, and she did not go into a home or anything. She actually stayed in the house that we were talking about before. But other people, you know, they go into long-term care and all this and then they take their house to pay for that long-term care. You know, and you can't just quickly sell it off to a kid and get away with that, because they reach back and all this kind of stuff. So you really need to set up, if you're lucky enough to have parents, set them up with this and protect their assets for them. And then, like Roxy, you know, had $1 million bills and medical bills that she didn't have to pay for. The parents will go into long-term care, and that estate will be there inside the trust, and you'll be protected. It's a beautiful
Also,
thing.
there's a spiritual side to this too, because I mean, talk about. I mean, it was if I remember right, like heart surgery is so on like serious, you know, life or death stuff, and I just say with this trust, it's absolutely real, eternal life too. No one who has signed this trust, because there's a spiritual side to it too. You side with Jesus Christ, and He says eternal life. No one's died. Can you imagine not dying? Like, hey, you can't get out of death and taxes. And I didn't know about, you know, I was like, wait a second, wait. Over the years, I'm like, hey, you know what? And, you know, that whole thing is just such a setup, too. You know, if you really
Right.
look into that quote, I've done videos on it. And, you know, also, there's a really recent video up on this channel and over on my other, where I run the church, Jesus Christ Trust.net, the Poe family. I mean, saying that the father of that family, you know, goes in the hospital after all this stuff, and he's, you know, the doctor's saying, well, he's got like an hour to live. And he ends up standing up, walking out, and his health problems are 100% done. I'm like, okay, could you make that a testimonial? Like, I keep, you know, I keep getting these impossible, you know, gonna die, absolutely health stories, and nobody dies. I mean, yeah, there's the whole taxes thing, but I mean, talk about families losing like the matriarch, the patriarch, like you know, real, you know, life altering, horrible stuff that you're talking about, losing your mom and stuff. I mean, you know, like, that can't happen. That's kind of, you know, that kind of beats 501c3 status all the hell, you know. I mean, really, you know, like, that matters. But I mean, it seems improbable, but why are they, everything we get programmed is such a lie, right? Can't get out of death and taxes. It's like, yeah, I didn't think of that. Wait a second, second part to this. You know, it's fascinating how simple this method is, and how it permeates everyone's life so much. It's amazing.
Yeah. Roxy says, I want to learn so much more. Doing this work is fun. We need to talk soon. My company's revenue is around 3.5 million tax free. Beautiful. Had heart surgery and kidney cancer. Wow. She is batting 1,000 right there.
It's really, and this was a few years ago. She done this, you know. And let me tell you, there's no way I could get Roxy out of my mind. I was like, what, you know,
that
like,
is beautiful.
It really is her story, her family's story. I'm glad you come up with this name of this show tonight, because it's absolutely mind-boggling. I was what this family does. They do a lot of great work too, you know.
DJB Thunder, Roxy, did the houses have a balance when you put them in there? That kind of goes along with two other questions that are here. If you have a mortgage, can you still put the property in a trust? And this one, can you put a house with a mortgage into a trust? And what if in the process of buying now with a mortgage from the bank, can the deed be in the name of the trust instead of my person?
Great questions. This is actually really simple. Let's do Matt's thing right here first, because what you're not going to do if you get a mortgage, okay? You're not going to get out of signing personally. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you got to sign personally for the loan. Okay, you got to do that. But now, what's the process? Okay, they're going to put up the mortgage. It's very common, you know, when you go to closing, that, you know, you're dealing with lawyers who are going to do the closing process, or whatever you call it in your state, that the lender, the lender's going to lend, but then it's like, okay, what do you want to put the name of the property into? And it's common. You can't like say, oh, I want to do that, and then put it in an LLC or something, but it's actually really common for if for people in the know, right? If you want to sign personally and then close at closing table, then put it in the name of a trust. And excuse me, you're usually dealing with the warranty deed and getting, you know, title insurance and all that. Still get all that, and you know, because you're signing personally for it, and they could put all the documents in the name of a trust. So yes, Matt, you want to make sure that your lender's okay with it, that, you know, you have your trust complete, and you give it to the lawyer who's doing the close, and be like, okay, I want it to go in the name of this trust right here. And so, yeah, you could do that. Also, that's one, right? So the second part is if you already have a mortgage, yes, you could then put the ownership into a trust. You could do that with a quitclaim deed. It's really one or two piece of paper thing that I have the information, and it comes with the McKeag Mastery bundle. Everything is basically almost everything you do with a trust is in the mentor program. And one of those topics is, putting real estate in the name of a trust. And let me just boil it down because, yes, you can put it in the name of a trust. Here's the one thing that the bank doesn't care. If you change it over, they have an acceleration clause in the documents. But here's the thing: if you're paying the mortgage, bank doesn't care. It's that simple. It's that simple. For people in foreclosure, here's a third thing. Nobody asked about this, but we're on the same topic. Third thing, and let's see, I have this over on, I think it's, yeah, I don't have this on Liberty Aid Academy. Some of the things that are just, I had to put under a church name so they wouldn't shut down like the school, basically. But another thing that a trust could do for real estate, and this worked 100% of the time if you follow the instructions, is if you're in foreclosure. So this course doesn't come with the McKeag Mastery bundle on Liberty Aid Academy. It's over on JesusChristTrust.net. But if you're a foreclosure, it's called I think it's something like Foreclosure Success Course, and so if you quitclaim it into a trust, there's also a couple methods. So when the sheriff shows up at a foreclosure, they cannot seize the property. Has worked 100% of the time for everyone. So if you're a foreclosure, I know there are a lot of people in it. This is a course over there. You got to get the trust. Really, none of this stuff I talk about works, if you don't have the trust. But if you got that problem and you don't want your home seized, it blocks that too. No death, no taxes, no giving it to the government. I mean, it's amazing how it's like this one trust, because you're signing with Jesus Christ. That's the thing. So, it can be a church, but it doesn't have to be. Like, it's really amazing that this kind of permeates every solution. It's I'm not going to go into that whole thing too much because we're mainly focused on the money thing over here. But yeah, it works for that too.
A quick side note to that: if so I'm renting a property now, and the owner has said that if I wanted to buy it, I could. Would it be a good idea for me to get the property into a trust? And of course, I'm in this situation where a few years ago, bankruptcy and all the other kind of stuff. But if I get the property put into a trust, and he's the holder of it, he's the guarantor and the trustee, and then once that gets refinanced, I can be made the so then he owns it free and clear, right? So we put it into the trust and then basically refinance the property, and he takes the money out, and I then become the trustee of the property.
Yeah, I mean,
that trust.
Yeah, you can work that out within the trust, basically.
Right.
I would have a trust own it instead of him personally or whatever,
Right.
and I would have it named in a church named trust.
Right.
I recommend like a 3-word trust. One of them being trust. Always trust has to be one of the words, the last word. But then if it's named like a church, like something Christ Trust or Christ something Trust or a Christian something, or Jesus Christ Trust or something in that nature,
Sure.
like that. Then you can do what Roxy did, pay no real estate taxes. You go through your county level and get the exemption done for no property taxes. I mean, come on. It makes, people are like, you want to make a piece of real estate more valuable. Well, if you removed the property tax payment, that makes the property more valuable right there, makes it worth more. So, you can put it in a trust. You could have him as trustee, the current owner and so on. And then you could have, conditions placed in a trust, you could also be trustee too, or however you want to work it out. You can become trustee upon a certain payment at a certain date. You can basically work it out with documents within a trust agreement within a trust. Doesn't need to involve a lawyer, doesn't need to involve the state, doesn't need to involve any of that. And in the meantime, currently go through the property tax exemption process and make it, so it has less expenses. And that could be part of the agreement. Hey, if we get no real estate taxes, then pass it on to you. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
Yeah, it's completely, the trust is very flexible. Let me use an example. Like, people are like, oh, I've heard of a land trust. Could I do that with this? Could I make it a land trust? I'm like, yeah, you can, but that would be limiting it. Like, hey, X land trust, then it would only be a trust that would hold a piece of land in a certain way and so on and so on. But if you made it just a trust, like I was just saying about the property you brought up that you're in and so on, then you could have the trust within its own documents do many things, of which one could be, we're going to make this agreement about how we're going to pay for the real estate, then you become a sole trustee and so on like that. You could, prepare the documents already for how someone removed as a trustee or placed as a trustee. In other words, you could sign all that and, give it to another party and be like, well, what's this satisfy? Like, you could involve a lawyer if you wanted to. You don't have to, but like, hey, if these payments get made, then, this document gets released that removes, the current owner as trustee, and then makes you a trustee, or however you decide to do it. It's absolutely flexible to do whatever you want. So yeah, land trust is something you could do, or you could just make a trust and then, okay, it's going to do this on this particular land. It wouldn't be limited to something, because, naming a trust like, oh, it's like this type of trust, well, that limits it to a narrow thing. And that it only does that, whereas it could do many things in the future. You don't know what you want to do in the future. You could leave it open and decide. So,
right. I was talking to other people who, are talking about real estate going into, on the blockchain and putting in a real estate into an NFT, which is interesting. And then, when you want to sell it, it would just go into the NFT. I like the trust better because that has more power. Like you were just saying, if you did a land trust, you're limiting it. So in that NFT, you're limiting what can be done, in that crypto NFT on the blockchain recording. If it's in the trust, the Christian trust, then you have even more power. And then, you could put that trust in an NFT, and then you're going to put that, and then all the power is in there. And that is something that, I'm very interested in trying to get that worked out.
Absolutely. Another example that people might have heard of, some of the largest by asset ownership entities that exist are a REIT. They call them a real estate investment trust. Is largest asset ownership, like, like gather all this real estate, and then those things go on like the New York Stock Exchange and so on, so that people can invest. So there's some of the largest, by asset value entities that exist. A REIT, you can look into them.
Yeah, Alan's asking, do you think it would still be limited if the trust owned the NFT? Right, that's what I'm saying. If the trust, if the property was in the trust and the trust had an NFT as representing itself on the blockchain, so then if you bought the NFT, you could become a trustee of the trust. Then you would have control of the trust that you created, right? I think that's what Alan's trying to get at.
Well, first of all, I don't know. I'm not super into crypto. I'm just
right.
Me as an individual, I'm not super knowledgeable on that, and Alan is super knowledgeable on that. So, but NFT, I think, is its own, a digital
Well,
title.
and NFT is a non-fungible token. It can't be exchanged for anything else. It only is what it is. And if there is, and now NFTs, a lot of people think of an NFT as just a JPEG. It's a picture of a monkey and blah blah blah, and you own the monkey, and you're the only one that owns the monkey. Now they're able to put assets, crypto assets, like you could put your Bitcoin into an NFT, and then if you own that NFT, you own that amount of Bitcoin. So if the trust, if those documents are placed in that NFT and recorded on the blockchain, so then that is what that NFT is, just a placeholder of the trust documents, and
It's
therefore,
just
if you sold the
it's
NFT,
just an asset of the trust. So an asset, like an NFT is an asset. Maybe the asset owes something, maybe it doesn't, but it's an asset by itself. An NFT would be an asset. Maybe it
Right.
has something of value, maybe it doesn't, but non-fungible token. Yeah.
non-fungible. Basically, you could turn the quick claim deed into an NFT. What I
That's
was thinking, and not
clever.
to, right, but if you put the deed and everything into the trust, and the NFT controls it gives ownership of the trust, then you're taking control of the trust by who owns the NFT.
Yeah.
And then nothing, and then there's no more quick claim deeds or because the trust owns it, right? So you're buying the trust. So if I had the Tim Judge Trust and it owned a piece of property, and then I had the NFT, which is a picture of the property, right? Which then would control the trust if someone bought that NFT and that NFT is worth $1 million. I go, okay, now you're in control of the trust. Which
No, I think
has all the properties.
I think it would go more like this. In other words, a trust exists and it can own anything, right?
Right.
So it could own an asset straight as an asset, which would be by a deed, a quick claim deed, and that would own a piece of property. Or you could take an extra step, it sounds like me, and make an NFT that would own or not own other assets. But I don't, NFT use actually is something that you use to hide stuff so you don't have to pay taxes and so on, it sounds like to me. Whereas this trust, you don't have to do those steps anymore. You know what I mean? You don't have to hide anything anymore with this.
No,
So
NFTs don't hide anything. They actually record on the blockchain exactly the document that you put in there. So if you say the 123 Main Street Trust owns that property, and you put those documents and that trust inside an NFT, it's just represented there on the blockchain as a a digital record of what that NFT is and does. And if it controls 123 Main Street through the trust, then if someone buys that NFT, then they control the trust. That is, they get control of the trust.
it's an extra step.
I put up that link. Alan, I'm sure knows plenty about this if he wants to join in. But yeah, what were your thoughts on? It's an extra step.
It seems like an extra step to me because a trust can own any asset. You know what I mean? But
Right.
still, a piece of real estate is a significant value asset, and to own it for real and not have someone challenge ownership, it's best to record the deed. In other words, you go down the county with those ownership papers, right? A deed, and then you pay some money to the county and you record it because something has to be recorded down there. You know what I mean? Like at the county level, because that's where you're going to record. Like I was saying, you put it into a church, you record it down there. The county is the one that records it. And why is it recorded there? Because that's who is sending out property taxes, right? Sending out the bill. So they have a process to exempt it or not. Here's Alan.
Right, but if the trust is set up and it already has the tax exempt and all this kind of stuff, and it goes from Tim Judge, and it doesn't go to my heirs, it doesn't go to my son, it goes to the guy down the street says, now I want this property back, or whatever. I want this property. If he buys the NFT, then he controls it the same way that I set up the trust.
Well, not according to the county. You follow me? The county is not going to see it that way. You see what I'm saying? Like, it matters to the county who's recorded, who owns it, because they're sending out tax bills. And so if someone dies and they're, then there's no trustee and the paperwork's not there or anything, then they're not going to see it that way. I can see maybe if the NFT is on the deed, but NFT is not going to get you that tax exempt status. It's not going to do. An NFT is just going to be something they're not going to understand at the county level. That's why put it into a church is very understandable at the county level, where you're trying to get the exemption. That's who gives the exemption. So you want it to be in a church name trust. And so an NFT is an extra step, but like you could buy an NFT, but it's going to be, you have to change who, if let's say someone passes on or isn't a trustee anymore, because at the county level, it's going to be the trustee, whoever wrote those papers, that's his trustee. Nothing changed at the county level. You see what I'm saying? So that's how the NFT can become a problem in that case, because then it's like, oh, you want to go to sell the land or something like that, and maybe you can sell the NFT or something like that, but the county is still going. How are you going to interact with the county if you ever need to do something down there? You're going to need the paperwork to record down there, and an instrument at the county has to be what's called recordable format. In other words, it has to be signed and notarized. Someone has to be alive to sign something and then get notarized. So, in that case, or if someone disagrees or whatever, I think an NFT can create a greater problem there and be basically an extra step that wouldn't help. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, we can hear you.
You're a little soft, but you sound fine.
Okay, can you hear me back? All right. Sorry about
Good.
that. Yeah, the NFT thing, I agree with you, John. I don't like, it's a unique idea, but it could cause complications. And if you are ever going to want to, like if you did, because basically an NFT would just be a tokenized form of the deed, and you would not be able to do that unless the county was on the blockchain. In the county, you know what I mean? They're not going to do that anytime soon, as far as I can see. So I know there's title companies working on this technology, but let's say you wanted to get rid of that property, it'd be tough to sell the trust wallet because the NFT would be in the wallet, and you wouldn't want to sell the NFT. You'd want to hand over the trust wallet. So again, you still sell the trust, I guess, in that sense, but it's like, it is a complicated feature, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, another way to do it, which would be more workable way, is to basically sell the trust. You know what I mean? Like if a trust was able to is doing basically one thing, one piece of property, and it went through the trouble of getting a tax exemption or something, okay, then that property combined with the trust makes it so that property has more value because it eliminated the property tax. So, okay. So don't just sell the property, because then the tax exempt status goes away. Sell the trust, and the real estate, and have a, change trustee and so on. Like, new trustees for the trust. Okay. So, but then nothing happened down at the county, except for you're going to file, here's a new trustee, and there's a trustee that went away. You'd file that proper paperwork down at the county level, but that wouldn't affect the tax exemption at all.
Right.
That's the way.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
That's the way I was thinking. That
yeah,
they're buying the trust.
Right. And you would hand over, if it were ever to be in an NFT, you'd have to, like, if they bought the trust, they would get access to that trust wallet as well. So, but I don't think anything's there yet. It's like way down the line, if ever.
Yeah, no, adoption of NFTs and cryptos is a ways away.
There's not much time left for them to implement that again. So,
yeah, that right.
But Marvin says exactly, it was mostly done in LLC. So yeah, if an LLC owned a piece of property and you bought the LLC, business or whatever, they own a warehouse and all that kind of stuff, and they buy the LLC, they now own the property, and the LLC owns the property and controls all that. So I'm just trying to do that with a trust rather than an LLC.
Yeah, exactly. And it would make sense too, because there's, oh, that LLC owns it. Well, the state is going to see that, an LLC is created from the Secretary of State and so on. And so, unless other paperwork is filed for the LLC, then the state is going to see, oh, well, the owner, according to the documents that whoever started the LLC, that's who owns the LLC. So if something if ownership, transfer of ownership of the paperwork of the LLC somehow disappeared, well, then title would really revert to what the state has paperwork on, which is the prior owner. So when you would want to transfer a trust and a deed, you'd also want to record the paperwork of the changing of the trustees too. So the state has a chain of title of every piece of paper. That's the beauty of recording it. It works in your favor for everything to be out there. And then also, if you're trying to get financing and stuff, all of that is known, because that's who records first. That's what matters to a lender, and who has what are they? I can't think of the right word, but who has the rights first. If you're recorded first, that's who has the first rights to property if you get it recorded. So otherwise, it reverts to past paperwork that's recorded. So basically, you want to record everything that goes to property ownership. Yeah, you can sell just a trust, but you're still going to record changing of trustee down at the county level. That's what I recommend.
Right.
So, quick question with recording property like a deed: is there any issue with having the trustee's name? So, like in one of the counties, that like we have a store that we put into the trust, but they're like the trustees' names have to be on it, where it says like Alan Poe, trustee, Christian Poe, or whatever trust, right? Dated this date. There's no problem with that. It's
No, what I'm saying is the opposite. It removes problems. You definitely want to let them know all that information and when it occurs and the dates and everything's on the paper where you want to give everything to them. It's the opposite. It removes any problem, so they understand trust. It's like everybody has this thinking like, oh, like I'm trying to hide my money and my assets and all this stuff because of taxation and blah, 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 blah. That's how a lot of people, including myself, come to this work about trust. But once you come to a trust, it's all that trying to hide stuff evaporates, and you realize, oh my God, they've known the whole time. These trusts work perfectly. The Rockefellers, blah, 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 everybody uses them. So, just because we didn't know, because we were filled in on the whole trust thing, okay, we were used to hide stuff. That doesn't mean we bring that type of thinking to this. No, you would have definitely tell them every detail, show everything, all that kind of stuff, Alan. Good question. Good question.
okay. And if there were to be a deed that was just because basically, if you were to like, if I copied the previous deed, when I was doing quitclaim, and they only used like let's say a previous entity that owned it, and they didn't put the names of the trustees on that, but and then you transfer it from like one trust to another trust, and the trustees aren't on there. Should I make a new deed that has it, even though they know that I'm the or like we're the trustees of this property?
Well, I would record the trust too.
Oh,
See how that covers everything? You follow me?
yeah.
Why not record the trust with the whole thing? You see, that it's like, oh, this is how it works. This is everything. Because then let's say, not your case maybe, but let's say you want to get money lent on it. And let's say the lender's like, well, what's the trust? So they just look it up. Oh, there, the whole thing's recorded. I get it. That's who's trustees. There's no one else is recorded down there. And then everything's known there at the county. So then it's like just a question of, okay, if it's staying in the trust name, then you'd file paperwork of a changing of who the trustee is. That's all. So they'd have all the documents. Why not give them to? We're not trying to hide anything anymore. In fact, no, we're trying to put that out in public because that's the public record. Down at the county level at the tax records, that's the public record. So we're not really trying to hide anything. Everyone that is involved with real estate is adults. So no, I would just give them everything in that, and then that removes any complication whatsoever.
All right.
That's a simple way to do it, I think.
Yeah, that's helpful because I wasn't sure if it would be a problem to actually record the whole trust at the county. It's fine. Okay. All right, cool. That's good to know.
Well, it removes 100% of the controversy, because they're like, "What about this? What?" Well, you have every document. What we don't, there's nothing to talk about for anyone. You just go look it up, and if anybody's interested in property, like they will read it. Oh, here's who the trustees are. I can get in touch with them if I have any questions, what have you. Very simple. The county knows. Anybody looking it up for whatever reason, they all know, and you all, the owners or trustees who own it. You all know. Everybody knows. It's a public record, so no ambiguity at any point. That's why I would just be like, well, here's all the paperwork, and just go ahead and record the trust with it. Why not? That's a way to cover everything and have no problems whatsoever, I think.
All right, thank you. That helps a lot.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And you don't have to, maybe Roxy's going, oh man, I don't think I did that. You don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? But
it doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't. It would remove every single controversy that could ever come up ever. So, and even let's just say, something's already done. You just go, okay, I'm going to go down there and pay a fee, and I'll record the trust too. It's just an addition to the changing of the deed. It's like, okay, here's a trust too. That's that.
Okay.
It's funny, when I started the first trust I ever started, I didn't really fully understand all the legal process to do with it. And one of the first things I did with Christian Ministries Trust, because I started it in Arizona, which was Pima County, at the PIMA. I went down and recorded it at the county level, and they recorded the whole trust, so I know it can be done. They just took a fee, and it was recorded. I still got a copy of it recorded. First trust I ever did, I realized, well, that didn't really do anything. It does something in relation to real estate, and that wasn't an issue that I had going on at the time. So you can do it. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if that, if you didn't want people to see it or something, you know what I mean?
I think that goes to the name of this trust is a private trust. You know what I mean? And people read more into that. Oh, private means you can't see it. No. In the case of a trust, private means you did not use a public agent, i.e., you did not use a lawyer to write the trust. You did not use an accountant. You know, someone with a license. You did not use a Secretary of State. You didn't use an agent of the state to make this trust, record the trust, or anything like that. That's what the word private means. It doesn't have to do with, it being hidden or something like that, or you can never place the instrument in the public. It has nothing to do with that. It's just like, no, you create it yourself, but you could put it into public record, whatever you find it works best for you as trustee, works best for the trust. And I think it works best for the trust to just go ahead and record it, because you're trying to, when you record documents against a piece of real estate, you try to remove controversy of ownership as much as possible. Remove any what could be called a cloud on the title. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to remove any cloudy issues of this could happen, that could happen, this could be like that. So everything recorded removes any clouds whatsoever. Anybody can just click online, see the title, see the deed. Oh, okay, well, that's everything. There's nothing that's not there. So
sure, thank you.
Yeah.
Love it.
Here, I'll back out and let you guys go.
No, Alan.
Thanks for popping in, Alan. Appreciate that.
Really appreciate it. Yeah. Al's, man, he's such a smart guy. I'm so glad he come to this work, because he always says like, well, what about this? You know what I mean? I love it, because he's always pushing my work further by, making me give absolute clarity to issues. He's always super on his game. I love having these brilliant people come to this work, because this is actually really simple work. And, using other entities like an LLC, like what Marvin brought up, brings up so many different issues and stuff, where this trust absolutely removes all controversy and issues and so on like that. And it's very, very flexible for every single situation, every type of asset ownership, really flexible.
And all that can be found on libertyaidacademy.org. And the other one you talked about for the credit programs was inside JesusChristTrust.net, right?
Yes, thank you
Excellent.
so much. Yes, thank you very
So
much.
take a look for those.
And hey, I work under a trust, right? And so, all I work on 100% of my income for now over a decade. Okay, seriously, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm out in the public. I've been doing this with proof. Everybody's proof. I exist only on donations through the trust. No other. I don't do any other work. I don't do anything but this. So, people are like, well, yeah, what's my money going to? This. I'm only doing this forever. I've done this for over a decade. I'm going to keep doing this. This is all I'm doing. I'm going to keep this lighthouse up and the light on forever, basically. So, your donation goes to helping you. And you're in there. I'm in there to help you, but also keeps the lighthouse on. Anyone else that needs this, like your help and support, making this happen and to continue and go on and everything for your generation, for like we're talking about, hey, what do we do with the next people? I'm here for them too. So
Yeah, absolutely. So set up a trust for your younger family members or your angry brother or whoever it is.
that's true, right?
And show them that it works.
I had this hack that I've been working on that I putting up a couple of videos, and I don't know, it's gonna come up. Here's I got this American Express Blue Business Plus. See what it says, John McCaig and John McCaig. So it's for the John McCaig Trust, right? And John McCaig, the person, right? That's who's running it. That's why it says John McCaig on there twice. And so basically, I went through this hack, like, hey, you could get. I've talked about this on other shows. You can look at the other videos, but I just want to show this proof because building credit for a trust can be a time-consuming process. And I recently found out a hack you could use American Express to really help build the profile without going through net 30 accounts. You still have to do the basics of setting up the trust properly and registering the trust and doing the things that are in business finance course that comes with the McCaig Mastery course. Now, you don't have to do this with a trust, okay? This is just for people who want to build credit for a trust. And, you could use a credit card that's in a trust name, and so it doesn't report, if you get the right credit cards and so on, it doesn't report to your personal credit profile. And they give much higher credit limits. And they're actually better credit cards and with lower annual fees for what you get as business credit cards. So this is a business credit card for the trust. It's not a personal one. And so I teach how to, build that credit profiles and all that stuff. So you could use your credit and not mess up your credit report. Basically, the credit reports to the trust credit profile. And so different than a personal one. Carrying balances is a boon to a business credit report. Yeah. It's like, oh, hey, they're paying credit. And then other creditors want to give you more money. Sure. So it's different. It's different than a personal one. Whereas if you held a balance, it's like, oh, yeah, then your personal credit score tanks, No, it doesn't work that way. So this hack is really meaningful, what I've been putting up. And anyway, that's a proof of it right here. I was showing it. Yep, came today. So really happy about that. That I figured out is kind of a shorter process to work the whole system like that. So I just want to make that part of tonight's thing that I actually got the card and everything, because I've been showing people step by step as it's going, hey, I'm trying to do this new hack. And anyway, I made it to the other side of it and it works. So I'm stoked about that.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to start that Amex. I have a little beef with Amex from years gone by, but
I did too. When I crashed my personal credit last time, I've done it before. I accidentally I didn't pay theirs, and I didn't mean to not pay it. It wasn't that high of a bill. It was like $1,200 or something like that.
Yeah.
But at one point they sent me a letter and said, hey, if you want to buy back in, you can pay us what you owed on that credit card, and then we'll give you an Optima. It's an Optima credit card, which they let me have for a year. And I used it. I paid on it. I paid back the thing that I hadn't meant to screw up anyway, because I was like, I'm not paying anything anyway. I was like, dang it. I didn't mean to not pay that. Anyway, so, but I paid on that Optima a year later. my credit score got better, and they let me, get a personal card. They let me get it for a trust and so on. So they can, not messing them up. If you haven't messed them up, or even if you have, you can get back in the game by paying them back. And it can, if you want credit and build a credit profile and trust, it can be beneficial with this hack. So just FYI, I did that too, but then I fixed it.
Here's the last one. If the trust is out in the public recorded, doesn't that open up your creditors and other bad actors?
No, no. First of all, opening yourself up to creditors. Let's just go into that first part of the question. Okay, a creditor is not going to give any credit unless your trust is registered. Okay, that means that's part of the steps of building credit. You have to register. What does that mean? You have to pay a fee at your Secretary of State for the state. Now we're not talking about the county. We're talking about the state, right? Because how do you get any other entity, an LLC, C corp, nonprofit, etc.? You pay money to the Secretary of State, right?
Yep.
At the state level, and they issue an entity, right? And so part of them doing that is it's registered. You could go look it up. It has a name and address, so as personally audited and so on. So when you fill out an application for credit, they want to know, name, address, who's the owner and so on, like in a trustee, who's trustee. They want to know all that. And if it doesn't match the records at the Secretary of State, well, a lender's not going to lend, period. They're not going to lend. They're not going to lend. So, I mean, you want to open yourself up to lenders, you have to register. You have to be a registered entity. So, yeah, you have to be open to creditors. That has to happen, you see? So, it's an extra step because you create this yourself that you actually have to do to get credit is register it. Not every state does it. Anyway, those instructions are in the CAG Mastery on the business finance class. It teaches you how to do that and everything. That's the first part of your question. So, and other bad actors, here's the interesting thing. This type of trust, once you sign with God, the other bad actors have no jurisdiction. I mean, you think there's this whole other thing besides just money. I hit everybody in the bottom chakra like, hey, get your money, everything's safe. And it works. Okay. But, it lends itself to, like I said, eternal life. You can't be killed. And other bad actors. What do bad actors do? They want to mess with you. You know what I'm saying? Like a bad actor would be like a cop knocking on your window or your door and say, hey, you're coming with me. And they put handcuffs on you. Guess what? They can't do that. They're frozen solid. I've had reports. I've experienced that, and other people have experienced that. They lose jurisdiction. So you roll your camera, you pull up your phone when they show up. And guess what? If you do that, if you put yourself and your assets in that, and if any of the cops go around, you hold up your phone and start recording, guess what's going to happen? They're not going to show up because they're going to be frozen solid in front of you, literally, because it's happened to me on several occasions. See, that sound impossible? Well, yeah. That's why they never come around again, because I'm like, let me get a recording of this. So they know, and they don't come around anymore. They just don't come around. That's why this thing beats foreclosure, you see? The seizure, it beats it. So they don't want to come and say, all you got to do is sign a trust with God, and then you're not under the In God We Trust anymore. They lose jurisdiction, and they can't steal your body or your assets or nothing. They don't want you to get any video of that. That's why they never show up. That's the second part of your question. This stuff is real. This is as real as anything, as real as, tonight's dinner for you. It's just as real as that. I got so much proof. It's ridiculous, So that's a great question that you have. So, you can't get into these bad actors, but let's go a step further. Let's say one trust gets all this credit and so on. And let's say, I'm not going to pay you back because the trust isn't going to pay you back, lenders or whatever. Then you just make another trust and you put all the assets in there, all the money and stuff like that. It's a separate entity. They can't touch it. They can't touch it. They can only touch the trust that, you got paperwork with. So, yeah, you could use, say, two trusts and you take their money, like Donald Trump, right?
Yeah.
He's got a trust, and he does, whatever. I have had 6 bankruptcies. He gets credit over here and dumps it into the trust that, didn't ever have any credit, or maybe it has credit, but it doesn't ever mess up its credit. So, it's a way to beat the whole system, which I've done and proved. I've done it, several times. It's wonderful. So trust can be used in that way. So you don't open yourself up to bad actors. You slam the door on them. Sorry, and it's not this past June, but the June before. I think June 16th. 2022, Jared has a great testimonial up because his person, right, gets a judgment against his person, and then and he shows all the paperwork. It's such a beautiful video. I love this. Is one of my favorite videos ever that we have. And then the lawyers go to court and they get a judgment against this person, and he's got Jared last name trust, right, at Chase Bank, and the lawyers were like, oh, we had a court order. We know Jared's got, a bank account over there. We want his money. And he's got Jared, last name trust at Chase Bank. You know what Chase Bank writes back? And he's got the paperwork. No, he doesn't have anything here.
Right.
I love it, because that was his straw man, his person that had the judgment. What it is, trust. So they're different entities. Problem solved forever. Goodbye. See you later, jurisdiction. Later for you. Great question you have, but no, this solves it. And we're at the 1 hour mark, and I know Tim's got another thing he's got to do. So thanks for letting me go through that, Tim. And thanks for Alan jumping in. Great questions. So man, what a great title for a show. Like, it's brought up so many cool things. You just come up with the idea for this show on your own, Tim. Is a great one. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. So maybe we should do an outro, and we'll be here next week and stuff like that. Man, Tim, great show again. Like, this hour passed real quick. Thank you, man.
This was a quick one. It was very good. We were on fire. Good stuff. Have a great weekend. Merry Christmas. Enjoy yourself. I hope you got, some nice plans. I've got, all my kids at home, so it's going to be good.
Oh, that's wonderful, man. Have a good Christmas.
Enjoy yourself, and we'll do it again next Thursday night.
See you then.
Thanks, everybody.